All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic start to the day. Happy Wednesday. Hope you're all having yourselves a great little hump day here and are ready for what should hopefully be another successful trading day. Yesterday was awesome, right? Did a really good job there managing our expectations, detaching ourselves from our P&L, and basically being objective with price action, right? Our first trade of the day didn't quite behave exactly how we expected. We cut it, right, for a small win. Then it broke down literally 30 seconds to a minute later, and we were able to jump back in, right, and take advantage of the sell-off lower. If we then, hypothetically, right, got like FOMO or annoyed with ourselves that we cut it early and felt like we were owed this win, we probably would have missed, right, the second entry and what ultimately ended up being a fantastic breakdown opportunity. So really important lesson for us to have reinforced there yesterday, where we have to detach ourselves from our P&L and obsess about the quality of our process. If a trade is strong, it's going to give us multiple chances to enter. If a trade is weak and isn't behaving the way that we want, then getting the follow through that we expect ultimately ends up being an element of luck versus an element of skill. And once we get addicted to riding that P&L roller coaster, it's going to start feeling like every decision that we make ultimately ends up being the wrong one, right? Because we're not judging ourselves on the quality of our process. We're not judging ourselves on the long-term probabilities of being successful. We're judging ourselves on the short-term variance that the market is going to give us. And if we're going to obsess over that short-term variance, we're never going to get the result that we want or the result that we deserve based on the hard work and effort that we dedicate to the markets on a day-to-day basis. And truth be told, right, the hardest thing to do as a trader, or one of the hardest things to do as a trader, is to not basically take your P&L seriously, right? Where you don't allow it to impact your mood. You don't allow it to change how you feel about yourself. You don't allow it to determine, basically the self-talk that it generates, right? And so what we need to continue to focus on here on a day-to-day basis, on a trade-to-trade basis, on a month-to-month basis, is obsessing over the variables we can't control. And I know I say that a lot. I always find a new creative way of basically phrasing that statement. But that's what it is, right? We can control the language that we use to describe our problems. We can control the language we use to describe our trading. We can control our basically reaction, right, to a trade going in our direction, a trade not going in our direction, or a trade not behaving the way that we expect. And when we control those internal expectations and we stop placing, that tremendous amount of pressure on ourselves, it becomes a lot easier for us to actually accomplish what we want out of the market. So for me, right, the focus on a day-to-day basis is to not live and die with each result. When I get addicted to that P&L roller coaster, it's inevitable that I'm going to get sick, right, and puke and throw up and spew all over the place, because that volatility is too much for any person to handle, right? You have to be detached. You have to be almost like numb and ignore the emotions that your trades are trying to make you feel, right? If our objective is to be basically systematic robots, well, robots don't feel emotion, right? They don't feel pressure. They don't feel the pain of a loss and the joy of a win. And so what I'm trying to say here to a certain extent, right, is that we then can't allow our expectations or the desire of like, I was owed this or I was owed that or whatever it is, to allow us to then compound mistakes and to put ourselves in situations where it becomes impossible to be successful. I've talked about this before, right? Especially when I had that slightly kind of challenging week there last week, right? Is drawdown is not forever, right? Losing trades aren't forever. It's not the reality, right, that we're always going to have red days, and it's not the reality that we're always going to have green days. But if we focus on our risk management, we focus on our breathing techniques, we focus on our posture, we focus on the language we use to describe our trading, we focus on the expectations that we place on ourselves, then recovering from those painful experiences, right? Recovering from drawdown should only take, right, a day or two, a couple trades, if we do things the right way. And yesterday was a fantastic reminder of that. And it's a reminder that you don't get confidence as a trader by always having green days, right? That ultimately just makes you feel like you can't lose. Your poop don't stink, anything along those lines. And it gives you kind of this like false sense of confidence that's just a result, right, of the variance going in your way. But it's the surviving of drawdown, right? It's the making of new all-time highs in your portfolio. It's the surviving your mistakes and seeing new P&L all-time highs that ultimately makes you feel most confident as a trader. Because if you can bounce back from a loss, if you can bounce back from a bad result, if you can bounce back from a period of drawdown, right? Ultimately, that's the worst thing that the market can throw at you, right? There's nothing worse that can actually happen, right, than having a string of losses. So now making new all-time highs, creating, right, that separation away from that sort of, choppy, challenging, whatever you want to call it, price action, and setting yourself up to be, in situations where you're now close to a payout, or you're about to pass your evaluation, or, you've created that space for yourself. That's what breeds confidence in your trading. And too many traders, and myself included in this list, right? We live and die with each result. We make it feel personal. And I promise you, when you make price action feel like it's, working against you or whatever it is, then ultimately you're just going to drain your mental capital, and you're going to compound mistakes, and you're not going to put yourself in a situation where you're one or two trades away from being at new all-time highs in our portfolio. And yesterday, we did a great job of that. Trade didn't move the way we wanted initially. Even if we would have held on, would have been a little bit of luck versus skill, right, to actually get that immediate follow-through. So you take the small win, you reset, you recharge that mental capital, you don't feel any FOMO for missing out on that initial pop, and then you can have an opportunity to trade the breakdown lower for what ultimately ended up being the biggest move here of the day. And for me, right, that makes me feel extremely confident, right, in my trading process. That makes me feel like, hey, my system actually does work. It reinforces those beliefs that I have based off of the evidence that I've already created. So it destroys that self-doubt because I powered through that anxiety. I powered through that stress. I powered through some of that challenging price action, and I trusted my technique, which in turn, right, is a form of trusting myself. So it's not irrational, it's not chaotic, it's not random. It's understanding that when I behave and follow a certain set of rules, I make money. When I deviate away from those, when I allow external pressures, right, either from the market or from expectations I place on myself, whatever it might be, if I allow those to dictate how I behave, then I'm just getting back onto that P&L roller coaster, and I'm not setting myself up to be a successful trader. So I would demand from all of you here today to think about how you ride that P&L roller coaster, right? How you attach your self-worth to your P&L statement, because that is not how we want to basically fight and survive as traders. We want to be better than that. We want to be more disciplined than that. And we want to hold ourselves to a higher standard than that, because when we do, good things happen. And when they don't, or when we don't, right, then we tend to just compound mistakes and keep pushing ourselves further and further away from our objectives, right, as traders. So with that being said, sort of rant of the morning here out of the way, let's start mapping things out here, figure out what we want to do here this morning, and put ourselves in a situation where we can trust our technique, trust ourselves, and follow our rules like the disciplined traders that we know we can be. So good morning, Suresh, Craig, Bugs, Vitali, Steven, Salstein, Fernando, Brian, Tanja, Jeff, Ruben, Dustin, Antonin, Mike, Matt, Dwayne, Jen, Constantine, Daniel, Howell, John, J to the D, Herschel, and Topher. Hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic start to the AM, and you're ready to embrace that disciplined trader that I know you can be. And let's take it here to the next level. Good morning, Jeremy. So first things first here, team. What's the count on ES? Let's start there, and then we can kind of map it out after. Good morning, Jack. So I'll say it's a 2 out of 3 to the downside. Yeah, maybe on the cusp of being an inside bar. But it looks like yesterday's low was Monday's low as well. So we'll call that a 2 out of 3 fine. How do we feel about that volume standard? It's like biggest volume we've seen, right, for a little bit. Hey, good morning, Joe. Okay, economic calendar doesn't look too crazy here this morning. No Fed speak today, right? That's pretty nice. All right, sweet. So we're looking generally a bit more of a bearish bias than a bullish bias here today. But what we've also seen in the last little bit, basically one green day, one red day, one green day, one red day, right? So we should have a little bit of flexibility, especially if we see bears fail under that 58.50 area, right? If we've seen them get stuck at that area twice, you know, if we see them get stuck there again, hard for us to continue being bearish, right? If we've got a lot of evidence of that basically being a bounce spot. So we'll say ORB fake out, breakout, right, off of 58.50. Because we've got 1 point of contact, 2 points of contact there, a third point of contact and bounce would be a good version of a bearish failure. And then you can target and move back up towards like 59.20, right? And then beyond, so not too much changing there. And then to the downside, we'd like to see a breakdown basically under that zone for a nice continuation narrative here, maybe back down towards 5,800. So a breakdown here under 58.50 is going to be the starting point this morning. And the fake out, right, probably be a rejection at all-time highs. Hard for us to really expect that to easily happen here today. If we're going to play a rejection, right, we'd like to see it reject inside yesterday's range and then break down under previous day's lows, right, if we're actually going to get some nice bit of follow-through. And then under that 58.50, right, we'll go like 10 points along the way towards, 5,800, right, is going to be sort of that next sort of target. And so that makes a reasonable amount of sense. All right, and then under 5,800, maybe we can go like 5,780. Again, that's a pretty big move, so I'd be surprised if that happens here all in one go today. But if it does, awesome, right? We'll take advantage of it. All right, NQ. What's the count here? How do we feel? Yeah, right. Very strong, similar story, right? Probably a slightly stronger candle because we broke down here, right, under Monday's lows. But all in all, very, very similar narrative here. Maybe a little bit more of a bounce spot here off of this 250 area, right? Basically support off that trend line. But again, a relatively similar concept here this morning. So again, right, an ORB fake out off the trend line. We saw that happen there yesterday. We've seen that act as support a couple times here post breakout there last week. So let's see if we can get some separation here, right? Essentially either under, right, that zone or away and back up above. Similar pattern, right? One day up, one day down here recently. So it does make sense to have a little bit of flexibility this morning, but we're not going to be too aggressive, right, until we get a nice bit of PA. Our target to the upside here, 2,700, and then fine, right? Not too much changing. To the downside here, right? A breakdown under 22 is going to be the starting point. So basically lose the trend line. And then a fake out here off of like 25, and then reject under the trend line, right, would be the starting point here for a bear case. Make sense? All right, fantastic. So crude, this is probably going to be a little bit more challenging for us to trade here as we creep up towards the contract roll on Friday. Pretty nasty, a little bit of price action there yesterday, right? Didn't want to give us very much of a early amount of trend, kind of one bit up, one bit down, one bit up, one bit down, one bit up, right? And then now we're opening up in the implied middle of Tuesday's range. So as we creep up towards the contract roll here, I'm just going to say NA until the roll happens. We're just going to say NA. And bearish NA. So no interest in trading crude here this morning. Again, if I get that wrong, right, say if it gives me a huge trend day to the upside above 72, no FOMO here, right? I don't care. My process for me is more important than the potential P&L that I could get here today. So if it doesn't want to behave, I don't have an expectation of it behaving super nicely going into a roll, I'm not going to assume that today is going to be different. I'm just going to sit it out and look for other opportunities. All right, Apple. Green candle, increasing outlier volume, gap down. So this is a weak 2 out of 3 here. It kind of looks, right, like a rejection candle, even though it's still technically bullish control. So we need to get a breakout here above, right, 237.50 for me to basically be interested in this, which I think is probably a little bit unlikely here today. Right? Or if we're going to be bearish, if we can get a breakdown under, yeah, I'd say 232 is fine. Hey, good morning, Sammy. Then that can put us in a good situation here. All right, Tesla, Doji, decreasing volume, gap up, right? So 1 for 3, attempted to break out into that gap there yesterday. Couldn't really do that with much conviction. But that still continues to be the setup here that I'm interested in, right? So it'd be a 224.50 at this point. Right, and then to the downside here, a breakdown under 214. Not too much changing. Okay, Microsoft, red candle, increasing outlier volume, gap down. Similar story to the indexes, except we didn't close under Monday's low, right? So some reason there to be a little bit pessimistic about the quality of that candle shape, but still a 3 for 3 here to the downside, and mostly a bearish bias. What that means though, right, is I'm not going to be looking for rejections inside yesterday's range. I'm going to be more or less looking for like a breakdown here of this trend line. So high volume breakdown here under 415. Would be the starting point here for me to the downside. Okay, Amazon, green candle, increasing volume, not quite outlier, little bit of a gap down, so 2 out of 3 here to the upside with volume. Probably the strongest bullish narrative we've seen here so far today, right? Good amount of dip buyers. now defending inside this area, right? So mostly seeing buyers above and sellers below, fine. And so you're looking for either a dip buy off of like 186, right? Or a high vol breakout over 188.50. Cool. And then to the downside here, we need to lose that green box, right? So basically a breakdown here under 184. Seems a little bit unlikely that that's going to happen here this morning. So again, going to be a little bit cautious. We still have a decent amount of time here before its earnings call. So this could be a little bit of like a positioning trade. Similar story to Microsoft. Maybe you have a little bit of a trend line forming there. But let's see if we can get some nice separation on an outlier volume standard to give me some conviction of bullish momentum. All right, AMD, nice little trend line breakdown there, right? Increasing outlier volume, bigger than any of the inside bar volume we saw in the last couple days. And really hard to think that, hey, this is a bullish element of control. This has been acting like a leading name here when we were dealing with that choppy period, and now it's breaking down. So maybe seeing like a little bit of a rotation away from semiconductor names. So we'll call this a trend line breakdown. And this is a clear bearish trend, right? So NA here for a bull case, and for a bear case, you're looking for a rejection under 155, or a breakdown, sorry, under 155.50, right? Or a retest or a rejection basically inside yesterday's range. Cool. All right. NVIDIA, similar story, right? Red candle, increasing outlier volume, little bit of a gap up, opening up more in the maybe implied middle of yesterday's range versus an AMD, right? So the gap up here is significantly stronger than what we're seeing on its counterpart. So maybe setting up a little bit as like a possible inside bar setup. And we're saying just an inside bar setup, right? Because it's got a lot of work to do before it breaks down here under 128.50. And it's got a lot of work to do before it breaks out above 139 approximately. So not too much changing here. I'm just going to look for that volume breakdown. All right, Meta. Red candle, increasing volume, gap down. Not exactly a super strong volume breakdown there, right? And we couldn't hold that candle shape. So it kind of still looks like that trend line continues to act as an area of support. So a 580 breakdown here is going to be the starting point for any continuation. Even though this is a 3 for 3, we're going to call this a weak 3 for 3 here to the downside. And we're going to look for a high vol breakouts to still think above that 600. So let's see if this trend line can continue to act as support. If it does, then we should get that separation away from 600 maybe the next day or two. But short term, no reason to be hyper aggressive here. Okay, Google. A little bit of a channel bounce, right? Doesn't want to really break out under here. So still needs to get under 700. Sorry, on Netflix. Going into earnings tomorrow. I'm going to say NA going into earnings. Okay, and Google, Doji-ish. I would call that maybe a second most bearish. Again, trend line rejection there. 1, 2, 3 points of contact now. So a 168 breakout would be the starting point here. And it is a technical gap down, right, of 3 cents. So 3 for 3 here to the downside, but needs to break out above that trend line. So I would call it 168 breakout. Good morning, Juan. And then to the downside here, right, a 164 continuation move. Should have space maybe down towards that 160. And then finally, right, we got the VIX hanging out at 20.85. So we do have an expectation of there being a certain amount of volatility available to us here today, but we're not going to assume that necessarily means a bullish scenario, not necessarily going to assume a bearish scenario. It just means that we should expect a decent amount of follow through if something does set up here today. So very much like yesterday, right? We're going to allow price action to determine what type of range we want to kind of create. We're going to look to see where the most impressive volume standard is here of the day. Good morning, Kenneth. And then once we've established that criteria, we can look to take advantage of whatever momentum is available to us. Generally, the more consistent the narrative becomes here across the board, easier it is for us to get a nice green day here P&L wise. And we're going to look to see basically all of our process elements sync up here today. And then again, right, judge ourselves based on the quality of our decisions, not the quality of our P&L. You can have a red day with a great process and you should walk away happy with how you traded. And you can have a green day with a bad process and be nervous, right, about the bad habits that you're now starting to reward. So got to walk that fine line here carefully. And hopefully when we do, we'll set ourselves up here for a successful trading day. So I got a couple minutes here to market open, guys. I'm going to go make myself a quick cup of coffee, spend those 2 minutes here visualizing a successful trading day. And then we'll jump back on here and hopefully take advantage of the action that is available to us here this morning. So back in a couple minutes and we'll chat then. All right, so any questions here this morning, team? Any questions, or does all generally make a decent amount of sense here? Sounds good. Oh, interesting. Not seen this happen before. There we go. All right, so let's see how price action wants to behave here early doors. We have no 10 a.m. data for us to be super worried about here today, so that makes life just a little bit easier for us again. Well, let's see how it comes together. Yeah, so it's just in general here, guys, right? We've seen on ES here, right? We've seen price action bounce a couple times now off of 58.50. So if we see a bearish failure under that area, it would be a counter trend essentially, right? For price action to keep rejecting inside that range. If we're going to get a bounce off of this previous trend line, which we've seen basically happen here a couple times as well, right? It's the same narrative there on NQ. So we're looking to see or define the areas that we'd expect for price action to find support. If it finds support there for a bull case, then yes, we can have a little bit of flexibility and we can look to take advantage of some of those narratives. We have volume already supporting these narratives here, Daniel. So exactly like it's described inside the strategy docs, we don't need to see more volume than what we saw there yesterday. Now, NQ, we did get more volume, right? And ES, we did also get more volume. So we've got a good amount of, call it bearish support here this morning, right? Early doors. And let's see if that actually leads to anything interesting from a price action perspective. Good morning, Brett. Okay, so NQ now under 2,300. Not going to give me an increasing volume profile here on the 3-min. I'd be surprised if it does at least. ES, little fake out lower and finding support, but again, not a ton of volume to indicate that there's an element of control here yet. So we're being patient here, right? No early trade to start the day off. And we have a decent sized range here this morning, right? So our expectation of getting follow through towards like that 2200, plenty of space here to the downside. Same thing on ES, right? Yesterday we had a range of 3 3/4 points. Today it's 8 points, right? So it's about double the opening range. So we know that not only is our position sizing probably going to be a little bit smaller here today, but that our risk reward ratio should be slightly easier for us to achieve, slightly more attainable, right, than the price action we saw there yesterday. Just no rush here, right? No rush. Any DTR guests in here this morning? Hey, Charlie. Well, good morning. Welcome. Steven, welcome. Great to have you both on board here. Good morning, Jeremy. Yeah, feel free to ask lots of questions here, team. Obviously, my job here is to try to make this process as smooth and seamless as possible. So if something doesn't make sense, please feel free to ask questions. And I'll do my best to kind of try to fill in those blanks. Yeah, I mean, look, as you saw me do my prep here, right? It's not something that I care about. I don't look at pre-market lows or Tokyo lows. I don't care about those levels. Pretty happy with where my price action or my pre-market prep is. I look at previous daily highs, previous daily lows, and those are generally my targets. What you see on my screen is what I care about. I'm not like hiding something or doing something opposite on some other screen that you can't see. It's exactly what you see here. Yeah, so that's for me an indication of how strong the daily trend is. So for me, it's three things, right? What's the previous daily candle? Is it strong bearish, right? Is it strong bullish? What's the color essentially? Is the previous daily's momentum, right, increasing or decreasing? So if you have, strong red candle and strong increasing volume, right, then those two things are telling you the same story, right, of, bearish momentum or bearish strength. And then is today's price action telling you the same story as yesterday's price action? So those are the three elements. When all three are telling me the same story, I have a much more consistent narrative that I can fall in love with. If it's kind of like an inconsistent story, then I know it's a little bit more of a chop, and I know what I need to invalidate for it to now become trending price action. So today, right, we had 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume. So it means yesterday, right, strong red candle, increasing outlier volume. But then this morning's price action in the pre-market was telling us a bullish story, not a bearish story. So we need to see bearish momentum show up before we can be aggressively bearish to the downside. It looked like for a second there that NQ was maybe going to give me a bear case scenario there. Did not. Or a bull case reversal there. Did not. Not a good enough candle. Hey, Andrea. Welcome. Glad to have you on board. No, I mean, I'm looking for the first time frame that gives me the same signal as my daily time frame, right? So right now, 3-man early doors, you have the most opportunities. So if I don't get a look on the 3-man, I'll switch to the 5. If I don't get on the 5, I'll switch to the 10. But I'm not really like attached to a specific time frame. Just 3-man right now is the most likely to give me a signal that I'm looking for. So that's why I'm on it. Those are my profit targets, Matt. So they are based on 2x, whatever the size of the opening range is. So whatever the difference between the high and the low of the first candle, my profit targets are 2 times away from there. So today 18 points, right? Or sorry, 8 points. So I know my profit target is 16 points away, right, from whatever the high is, or 16 points away from the low. And then this line here in the middle, that's just the midpoint of the opening range. Okay, so again, not enough volume there. Same thing on the 5-man, right? Decreasing versus the previous candle. So we're being pretty patient here so far. No 10 a.m. data for us to be worried about either. So we should have a relatively clean slate. But if the market's going to drift lower without it giving me a sign of momentum, I don't need to be hyper aggressive on that. So still being pretty chill here. Congratulations. So again, possible reversal opportunity starting to set up here. Or if this candle can close with some momentum, right, lower under 38, then we have a bear case. Okay, so pretty good volume there. 948. Decently extended price action. Okay, so we're going to start watching NQ here for a move to the upside. So for now, stop loss would have to be low of day, which is approximately 227. Right, so you're not buying 100 contracts here, right? This would be a one contract play. And you'd still need it to pull back a decent amount, right, before that's interesting. Okay, now we could be two contracts. Now back to one. Just being very patient here, right? No need to jump into this thing until it's perfect. We're looking to find an aggressive area of support here off of these lows. Might not give me that here yet. Interesting. So inside bar there. That maybe would set up as the fake out entry, right? So now if we can see a fake out here under this low, that would maybe put us in a situation. And stop loss again would have to be 216.50. I'm trying to be very cautious here, not trying to get too excited, right? Controlling my breathing, controlling my posture, not getting tunnel vision, right? Just being very patient. All we have here is a setup, right? No reason to jump into anything yet. It's got to be perfect, right? It's got to be perfect. I hate starting the day off with a loss. Always makes me feel like an idiot. So I can sip my coffee, right? Give my dog a little belly rub. I do not have to rush into a decision here. Right, on this fake out lower, we want to see the fake out close back up above 228 and then a green candle of some sort, right, to show up as the next one. So we still got plenty of time, right, to see that combo. Right, we want to see bears fail and then bulls reclaim control. Just seeing a bearish failure maybe tells us that it's a pullback scenario, yada, yada, yada. Right, we want to see bears fail first. We have no evidence of that failure here yet, right? Just speculation that maybe it could be happening. So we're looking for a close above that dotted line. Not going to happen, right? That's actually an increasing volume standard. So maybe that tells us, right, that we've got bearish control here. How much space do we have? Not a ton. Not super enthusiastic about that. Right, maybe we're setting up better on the fake out here on the 5. So again, right, decent looking bearish failure here under that 228.50. Sorry, 228. I don't know why I threw the 50 in there. And now we want to see some sort of evidence, right, of bullish control after the failed breakdown. Don't have that yet. So 5 minutes away, right? So we're looking at maybe a 10 a.m. entry. Maybe. So again, right, no rush here yet. No obvious trades here to the downside. No obvious trades here to the upside. So being very patient, being very cautious. Don't have to be in a rush to lose money here this morning, right? Okay, new lower lows. So it's got a lot of work to do for this candle to close green. That's what's got to happen here. So again, right, being very patient here, being very cautious, no reason to jump into something just for the sake of feeling alive. Right, I don't trade because I want to be entertained. I trade because I want to make money. So if I don't get the right combo of information, if price action stops behaving the way that I expect it to, it's hard for me to want to be aggressive. Okay, pretty low volume. What are you looking for, Brett? If you're a guest, you're not gonna get like a copy of my indicator or anything along those lines. That's for premium members only. But if you want to just map out the opening range yourself, right? It's just mark out the high and low of the first candle of the day, right? And then profit target 2x, whatever that range is. So at this point, if we're going to break down ES, maybe the easier setup because we have no separation here yet this morning. And Q maybe a little bit more extended, which gives me more of the bias, right, for the potential bounce scenario. ES, right, relatively stuck relative to NQ. So NQ probably the harder short, easier reversal. ES the easier short, harder reversal. And again, every trade that I could have talked myself into, right, probably would have lost money on here so far. So it's important to remember, right, your job as a trader is to try to spend more time talking yourself out of trades than into trades. Right? Being almost like hyper paranoid that your ideas are wrong and not believing that every idea you have is correct. That's a surefire way to lose money quickly. And when you have a nice winning streak, right, it's easier to start to believe that every idea you have is spot on. When you have a losing streak, right, it's easy to believe that every idea you have is wrong. So it's about really fighting, right, or managing your expectations there. So again, now we're back to that potential reversal scenario here, right? 2 failed breakdown attempts. If I could see some sort of element of bullish control here, right, on NQ, that maybe would be my cue to start looking for reversal opportunities. 2 minutes to go before that's in play, so just give it a bit of time. Everything else looking pretty similar though, right? Little failed breakdowns starting to reverse. Okay, so as is, right, it'd be a 34-point stop loss. So 34 times 20, what is that? What's 34 times 2? Yeah, 680, right? So that's more than the max loss I'd be willing to accept on a trade. So we need a deeper pullback, right, before that's acceptable. Or alternatively, right, use the aggressive entry technique to get a smaller entry sizing, right, or tighter risk management. Okay, so as is, stop loss 248.75. Let's see if he can hold. Okay, no. Okay, now 244. You want to see it make a higher high above this confirmation candles high, so above approximately 261.75, or we need to see it make a deep pullback here towards like the 230 range. Okay, so now stop loss 240.75. And so it'd probably be about a 20-point stop loss, right? So that'd be one contract. Okay, so watching closely here. All right, guys, I am in. Average price $22.59. One contract. And good entry, right? Green right away. Let's see if it can hold. So far, so good. Let's get a bit more here. So that's $200 or $400 now, just about. Let's see if we can keep going. Bit more juice, come on. So ES just made a new high a day. Let's see if NQ wants to give us that same scenario here. Come on. Where's my pen? Okay, so far so good here, right? So far so good. Let's see if this thing can keep giving us a bit of further follow through. But excellent patience here, team. Excellent patience. Nearly 500 bucks now. Not bad for one contract. What was the rejection message, Karat? Not increasing volume, so I don't have an interest here in building up my position here more yet. What was your stop loss price set as? Sounds like your stop was above your entry price. Interesting. Send me a screenshot maybe if you have a chance. All right, so far so good here, team, though. So far so good. Let's see if this thing can get back over 300, and then we're in great shape. We'd love to see an aggressive move through 300, right? Aggressive. Make it feel like it's a sociopath. Right? Just Patrick Bateman slashing through the hallway. Because that's going to be our next most obvious area of resistance. So if we can't get it to hold above 300, right, that's going to be a reason to get out and just take the win for what it is. Yeah, if you guys really want to trigger me, just show me your business cards. And see how calm this trade has felt? right? Because we were so patient in the build up to it that we didn't allow our emotional state, right, to make things more difficult than it needed to have been. So we're up 800 bucks here, right? And we're in great shape to turn this into a nice monster day. So let's see if this thing can break out above 300. And give us some oomph. So I want to see violence through 300, right? So it's got to be elevator up here now. Come on. Better. Let's see if 300 now acts as support. All right, so there's the $1,000. Good day, right? No complaints. And let's see if it can go red to green on us. For my favorite trades. If it doesn't hold above 300 here, I will look to get out. Just told you my plan there, JD, right? I just told you my plan. My stop loss is still at my original red line. I have not moved it. If I did, I would told you. Just said if it doesn't hold 300, I will close my position. That is essentially my trailing stop loss. Right? I will tell you everything I'm doing. So right now, if it can't hold 300, that's a sign that I don't want to see. So I will get out if that's the case. Nice work, Juan. Congratulations. All right, we did hold above. Still decreasing volume. So not fantastic. Right, that lack of momentum may be a little bit concerning. If we look at ES, for example, right, ES on that reversal gave us good increasing standards. So reasons to be a little bit skeptical, right, that this maybe is going to give us a ton of continuation higher here. This maybe just looks like a low vol pullback, right, into our opening range. Let's see if that 300 can continue to act as support. I would say not that rocket ship I wanted to see away from it. Come on. $296. Come on. Again, this candle needs to close above 300. Got my finger on the trigger here as well to close this position. Starting to feel maybe like a rejection more than anything else. I'm not going to front run that decision here yet too aggressively. But I'm starting to feel like my opponent has aces when I've got kings, right? So maybe the move here is to find the fold. Let's see. Again, a blast through 300 is what I want to see. High volume separation away from that area. Nice work, Jay. Again, that's a 6-point sell-off once it hits 3. Nice work, Jeremy. Congratulations. Come on. Yeah, one sec here, Matt. Just thinking about closing this. Give me a sec. So my entry trigger, right, is anywhere inside this green to red line, right? So anywhere under 268.25 to 240.75 is a good risk reward, right? So anywhere under that zone is an acceptable entry for me. In at 259, so not that much worse than yours, right? You're still within that risk reward area. So it's basically just first chance I get, right, on a retest of approximately this previous candle's high ends up being a good entry trigger, right? So if I'm looking at price action here, I'm basically looking to see how price reacts to a retest of that high. And then if I see it basically pulling back slowly underneath that area, that then becomes my reason to click submit. All right, guys, I'm going to look to get out here. Didn't hold above 300. So trying to just close this on a little pop higher. All right, and I am out at 295. This thing sets back up, right? We're going to be okay. Nice little win. So a little bit over 700 bucks. Maybe a little bit prematurely, but that's okay. Huh. Good luck, Rusty. Okay, so maybe a little bit early on my close, but I'm okay with that. Green is green. Yeah, so I don't feel like I necessarily made the wrong decision. I mean, I could have gotten maybe 15 more points out of this for now. But the lack of increasing volume post-entry making me a little bit nervous. Pair that with the kind of sticky reaction around that 310. I'm okay closing that a little bit early. If this now sets back up, no worries, right? Can take another shot or alternatively play ES here maybe to the upside. But yeah, good start to the day. No complaints. Everyone feeling good? Good, good. I was going to say, I don't know who this Betty is, Mike, but she sounds like a nice lady. So ES maybe here on this 15 min looks interesting. Yeah, we need a decent pullback here now. 5-point stop loss, so this would be a smaller position size. In hindsight now, right? Look maybe a bit dumb for closing NQ early, but I don't care. Made a plan. I stuck to my plan. Talked myself out of it maybe a little bit too easily. Should have been a monster. Rusty, congratulations. Nice work, man. Nice work. And for me, yesterday was the official drawdown recovery day. So today is kind of the cherry on top. Feels good. So probably too much of a pullback. So if ES can go breakout, or sorry, NQ breakout above 56, then we can maybe get another opportunity here. Again, no complaints. Excuse me, no complaints here so far this week, right? 3 trades, 3 wins, 3 good decisions. So I can't really be bitter. Maybe left a little bit of money on the table, but that's fine. I'm not trying to call tops and bottoms. I'm trying to catch the juicy middle. We definitely did that well here on that trade. So let's see if something else will set up here. If not, I mean, I'm happy to walk away with the day. Just keeps building, right, on what's been a nice week. Yesterday, great day. Today, good day. Tomorrow will be a new day. So hopefully we can keep getting some more oomph here. I love those red to green reversals. Those are gotta be my favorite trades. Okay, so now maybe starting to run out of juice here a little bit. Yeah, I probably left, 30 points on the table here. That's all right. I'll take it. Okay, no dice there. Can I maybe do this on ES? That's maybe grasping a little bit. Crude just doing its shenanigans. So yeah, I feel like I've seen it relatively well here today. Yeah, a little bit prematurely on my close. For all you Californication fans. But yeah, I won't complain about that. Good day. Got just about 2R, so I won't complain. Yeah. I mean, no real complaints here, Jen. Like, I have no bitterness about following my plan, right? So, generally, what I want to see here is a high volume reversal, right? High volume separation continually happening. We saw that more on ES than we did on NQ. And then it struggled around that 300 area. So, I don't necessarily feel bad about it. Maybe, like, the plan to close on a pop, maybe a little bit premature there. But I don't think I did anything too bad, all things considered. For me, it's more valuable to stack up base hits, right, than try to swing for home runs. Home runs happen when your process is tight and consistent, right? Base hits happen when your technique is good. So if you focus on the quality of your technique, right, then home runs eventually do happen. Like we had one yesterday. So I don't need to be too aggressive here. Again, no FOMO. There's no regret. There's no, oh, what could have been. Yeah, it was great, right? It was a great trade. Same thing as yesterday. You know, we were green right away. Means our entry timing was correct. Our thesis identification was correct. We didn't have to really stress out, right, about the quality of the price action. So for me, right, really calm, positive result. Nice, Sammy. Glad to hear that. Yeah, guys, everyone deals with a drawdown, right? Talked about this to start the day off, but it is the bouncing back from those periods that make you feel like an idiot that ultimately makes you the most confident in your ability to survive whatever, right? And as much as we would love for our P&L to move in a straight line, it is just not the reality. It doesn't happen that way. So it's about learning how to lose in control so that, just like Sammy, right, you're one trade away from being green or two trades away from being green, and you don't basically dig yourself a grave by compounding mistakes. So from my perspective, right, as an educator inside this space, for me, it's the most important thing to focus on. It's why we focus on our risk-reward elements the way that we do. And it always makes me very proud, right, when I hear people bouncing back from those challenging conditions, challenging days, and finding the success that they deserve. So congratulations, man. It makes me very, very happy for you. So Andrea, Matt, Brett, how'd you guys feel about that trade? Jeremy, Steven, Charlie, how'd you guys feel about it? So tell me what's missing, Brett. What's not making sense? Nice work, Steven. Congratulations. Great day, man. Nice, Cordell. Love to hear that. So what's different? Is it the price? Is it the time? Is it the look of the candles? What's different? Nice work, Howell. Congratulations, man. Nice work, Jeremy. Congratulations. $1,200 is a fantastic day. What was your close price, Steven? Well, that's a good problem to have. That's a good problem to have. Something you can build off of. So, Brett, when you look at your chart, do you have like a little D here somewhere? Because it sounds like you probably have delayed market data by the sounds of it, where you're like 10 minutes behind. Oh, my pleasure, Charlie. So yeah, click that D, Brett. Pay the $7 for the live market data, and things should look a lot more consistent. Yeah, that's exactly it, Karat. So For me to want to pyramid into a trade, I need to see increasing volume on separation away from my entry price. So on this 1005 candle, right, it's decreasing volume. That 1010 candle, right, that held above 300 on decreasing volume. So no opportunities to build up a larger position size. Yeah, again, in hindsight here, right? Okay, we left a little bit of money. On the table here, but ultimately, I don't think we missed out like the huge reversal opportunity. Nice work, Andrea. Congratulations. Yeah, you have yourself a great day, Steven. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And tomorrow, right, when you're watching with us, let's focus on controlling those variables. And, yeah, maximizing some P&L potential. But well done, man. Nice work, Jen. Congratulations. So yeah, looks like ultimately we did make the right call here, even though it was maybe a little bit early. We didn't get that red to green reversal breakout. So kind of just looking like it might end up being a chop day. So no complaints, right? I'll take that 1 for 1 on the session. And yeah, keep stacking them up, right? Keep stacking them up. So fill in the journal time here now. Forgot to update that yesterday. No worries, Brett. Well, feel free to ask any questions or anything along those lines. Always happy to help. In reality, right, you're going to increase or improve your understanding of it. One, when your trading data is set up and, it's kind of matching what you're seeing on my screen, right? Things are going to make a lot more sense at that point. But then it's just also just the practice and the repetition and putting in those paper trading reps until you have that confidence. So that lack of understanding, or whatever you want to call it, right, is a totally natural process and part of the learning curve. And the learning curve in trading is always very aggressive and very steep. So I wouldn't really worry about that too much. Glad to hear that, Brett. Glad to hear that. Yeah, get that data sorted, Brett, and you're going to feel a lot more confident in how it's behaving. Yeah, no worries, mate. No worries at all. Happy to try to help you solve that problem. No issues whatsoever. So yeah, team, I'm not going to place any further trades here on the day. It's all about controlling, right, expectations. 2 nice green days in a row. I think that's 5 green days in a row here as well. So after a little bit of a challenging period, right, yeah, we're back on track here in the last, what is that from? So from the 10th to now. So not bad here for the last 7 days. 6K per account. I'm good. Yeah, I mean, NQ could potentially be looking to break down here again towards the low of day. But I'm just not sure if the juice is worth the squeeze, right? So I'd probably stay away from this personally, at least at this time of day. If it was a little bit closer to power hour, Charlie, then yeah, probably a good opportunity potentially to look for a breakdown here. But you've had a failed breakdown lower, a failed attempt to break out back higher. So no real clear indication that either bulls are in control here this morning or that bears are in control here this morning. So, that just tells me that, hey, if neither in control, it's kind of like a tug of war or a little bit of a chop. And if that's the case, the expectation of getting easy follow through here to the downside is probably quite limited. So if I'm like thinking about how am I going to protect my mental capital on any decision, if I have no clear indication or no clear evidence here yet today that either bulls are very strong or that bears are very strong, then the most likely outcome is probably chop. And so even though I might have a setup when I've got a backdrop of choppy price action tells me I should probably stay away. Hell yeah, Dwayne. Nailed it, man. Rules are forever. Impulses come and go. So that was with one contract, Joe. That was with one contract on one account. So I trade with 5 total accounts. And 1 tick on ES, or sorry, on NQ, or 1 point on NQ is worth 20 points. So take away some commissions there. And it's a nice green day. Nice work, Kenneth. Congratulations. So it was one contract, 150K account. I have 5 of those, so I copy across all 5. Working on getting a 6th added here. Hopefully that happens soon. So a nice green day. All right, team. Any questions here? Any questions? So multiple accounts, right, gives you the opportunity to spread out your risk while also increasing your P&L potential, right? So I can survive a lot more drawdown. I can survive a lot more losing trades in a row and still keeping access. Yeah, with Top Step X, you can have 5 sim accounts. The 6th account that I'm working on here one is with My Funded Futures. It's the trade of 8-1 I was sharing last week. So that'll be my 6th one. Once that's set up, I'll look to do stuff through Quant Tower. And then with Top Step, you can get a 6th account when they transition 1 to live. So you can have 5 XFAs and then 1 live account for a total of 6, but that's by invite only. So yeah, Charlie, even though this was a potential setup here to the downside, you've seen bears fail and you've seen bulls fail. So base expectation is that price is going to behave like it always has until proven otherwise. So you need some sort of indication of trending price action prior to being able to look for a continuation narrative. Does that make sense? Yes, Brett. So the solution for your delay is to buy live market data. Right, Brett? So got to get live data, right? There's no trading if you're 10 minutes behind price. You're never going to make money. So how many of you have been in here 2 days in a row now? Who was in watching yesterday? And are you green both days? Hopefully should be. Nice, Vitaly. Green, yeah? Yeah, well, Brett, you got to control the variables you can't control, right? That's awesome, man. 40% is a great day. Well, risk management, risk reward, and thinking about your position sizing is how you're going to win. So I like to hear that, dude. Congratulations. DTR members, you guys all green here today too? I appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Nice, Jack. Attaboy, Jeff. Nice, Chad. Let's go, Derek. Love it, team. Love it. All right, team. Final call for questions here. Final call for questions. Nice, Dustin. That's awesome, man. And we're going to be competing for winning streaks here soon. All right, everyone. Well, same deal like always, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. To everyone else, congratulations on a fantastic trading day, right? Not getting greedy, not getting emotional, trusting our process, being patient, and waiting things for absolutely to be perfect. So no complaints about that. Good week here so far. Let's see if we can keep stacking them up, right? Finish off the week strong Thursday, Friday. But it's been a good week. Back to pretty aggressive new all-time highs in the portfolio. So no real complaints. And we'll see if we can keep kind of building up and growing from here. But it's been a fantastic trading week here so far. So let's see how this momentum continues to reward us and how well we can control our variables to help us get there. So have yourselves a great rest of the day, and we'll catch up soon. And I'll see you all in the stream tomorrow. Peace.